Hey everybody. So it's been like 4.5 months since my last update. Um, Life has been happening and stuff, and there have been a handful of times where I've been about to get ready to make a video and then just I don't because there's so much going on and either I forget or I just don't have the motivation, which is pretty common lately. It's been an intense few months. So, I know the last time I posted was in August, and I was talking about going through kind of being called intimidating and experiencing that all and thinking on it and realizing, like, yeah, there's a reason for it and that it's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, and I guess kind of that's come in handy a lot over the past few months. I I'm going through a divorce. I actually just officially filed my petition this morning, so I will be divorced in 61 days, fingers crossed, and that's super exciting. But um, my husband and I have been separated since the beginning of summer, kind of living, cohabiting, trying to be friends and roommates and see if we could work things out with living together and kind of transition into no longer being married and being just like friends and roommates and stuff. And it was hard, it was rough, and by the end of October, he had finally kind of gotten a hold of his anger and stuff. And so, um, right before Halloween, he asked me to find somewhere to live, and so he stayed. He had started seeing somebody, so he stayed with his girlfriend, and I found a place. It took about 2 months. Found a place and moved out, and have been in my new place for a little over a week now. Actually, tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks. Super exciting. Um, Aside from the getting divorced and moving out, I started seeing somebody a few months ago. It's been exciting. It's been up and down. It's been kind of a roller coaster, and it's not like any relationship I've ever had before. It's not anything I've ever experienced before, and it's fun, but it's kind of intense and stuff. And we're on a little bit of a break right now because we're like needing some space, I guess. But that is one part of new things, and then the other part um, is I've gone through the kind of like application and interview processes for Teach for America, which I didn't get into, although I did make it to my final interview with them. And then from there, I was contacted by an organization called City Teaching Alliance that also is partnered with AmeriCorps. And they're kind of out of Boston area, but they have different hubs. Most of them are up in kind of the Northeast, or like New England area, but there's a hub in Dallas, and it is a 4-year residency and teaching program that ends with a master's in education and all of your teaching certifications. So, teaching English as a second language, special education, and general education. I made it through 2 interviews with them, and I actually got denied because one of the people I chose to um, do my recommendations chose not to do that. And that's not to say that in the long run, after another week of deliberation, I still might have been denied the job. It could have come down to anything, but I know that I I received an automatic denial at the deadline, and so I'm pretty sure it's because all of the materials weren't turned in at the deadline, and um, I believe that it was a really a petty thing for that person to do, and I no longer speak with them. And it's really frustrating because I'm not going to ever know if it was just that or if there were other reasons that I didn't get into the program. And it, it it's stupid. Like I want to know. And if this person didn't have to be petty over stupid stuff, I might know. Well, I would know if I got into the program or not, and I would know whether it was because all of my materials were not submitted or another reason. So that's lame. I'm taking a break from the whole job aspect for now. I'm back at looking into master's program, and I was looking at dual masters like programs to do education and psychology and kind of go that route. And I found one that is kind of interesting that I'm going to inquire about. But then I also found another um, dual master's in PsyD program with a few different like specializations in psychology. And so it is not. I decided that I didn't want to get my doctorate kind of shortly before I graduated this last summer, and it's really difficult to sit here thinking about this because I know that I looked at that program and I thought, well, I mean, I could do another 6 years in school. um, it's not like I have a life or anything, but that is something that is going to be a process. I'm going to think that out because I would prefer that if I'm going to teach to get into a program that does either a residency or kind of a stepping stone type situation where like you're not being thrown directly into a classroom by yourself because I got too much anxiety for that. I need to like ease in on the kitty side and accustom myself to it and get used to being around people because I've gotten better at the videos over the months. Obviously, like I'm not a professional, but I've warmed up to it and it's just the same. I don't want to be awkward in a classroom right off the bat. Like I want to have those years leading up where I'm kind of an assistant. I'm teaching the classroom with another teacher and I'm going through the process and stepping into the role and I know that there are a lot of options for that, but at the same time, I am really happy with HEB. I love HEB, and I'm definitely okay with staying here until, well, staying there at HEB until something goes down. I'm tired of my city. I've been tired of my city for a long time, and I'm ready to go. I actually started looking at master's programs again, like intentionally, so that I could look in the Austin area, maybe like look at doing an in-person program and relocating back to be close to home again, but I honestly don't have any idea what the future holds. And I know that instead of just trying to make a decision and jump into things, I need to kind of write down my goals, write down the things that I want to do, the things that I'm interested in, and what my options are, and give it time and figure out what really calls to me or what I'm drawn to versus just being in a rush to get out of Abilene and doing anything that I can to make a decision to make that happen. So it's going to be a process, especially now because last bit of news, I wrecked my car on Saturday night. Um, Literally like a little over 2 hours after I woke up. I got up around 7 that night and I wrecked just after 9. I was still nursing my coffee, coming from a party where everybody else was drinking, but I was in morning mode. I was grumpy, groggy morning Shay, and sipping on my coffee, and just took a turn too narrow. I didn't. It's a turn I take all the time. It's a drive that I am comfortable with and familiar with, and that I know, and I just didn't quite turn wide enough this time, and decided to park right on top of a solar stop sign, and everybody seemed to think, oh, it's gonna be okay. Like you just hit a stop sign, your car's gonna be fine. They'll fix it. I couldn't understand how nobody was grasping how serious this was until I showed the pictures to people. And I guess like hitting a stop sign doesn't typically do as much damage as I did to my vehicle, but it is most likely totaled, which is great for my timeline because that just means that I can go ahead and get a new vehicle once everything goes through for that instead of having to wait on a repair while I don't have rental reimbursement and am having to rely on other people, which is horrible. I think that's besides how scary it was, I think the worst part of the whole thing was losing my freedom as abruptly as I did and realizing I went from always being at my own whim and getting myself anywhere and not having to worry about having a reliable ride to having to find a place to get everywhere. And that actually just reminded me that I was going to go to the laundromat today, but I guess I'm not doing that. It's okay. Um, but life, like, I guess, comes in waves. This year has been a very, very strong mix of pros and cons. And now that I'm writing it all down and looking at it, it looks a little bit more balanced than it feels, but it sure shit feels like it's mostly a lot of cons, not a lot of pros. But it's a process. I'm here for a little bit. I'm working on this business with my car, trying to get through that, decide what my next step is, and maintain my sanity. So, on that note, I'm going to share a poem, which this is a relatively recent poem that I've written. I do plan on sharing a lot of fun old poetry that I found because packing and unpacking, I like got into the jackpot that I know that I have previously mentioned on my channel all the legal notes of poetry. So I have those stashed, and I will actually be getting into those um, in the future as stuff to share. But for now, I'm gonna share this one that I've written in the past few months. I actually wrote part of it on the way back home from Arizona in May, and I only had like 5 lines, and it just I knew that that wasn't it, but I didn't know what it was, and um, maybe a couple months ago, I guess the rest of it just came to me. So here it goes. So the thing is, I'm kind of an oxymoron. So shy, but bold and social as fuck. A total fucking pushover, but assertive and a brat. Dissociative and checked out, but also present, loud, and proud. Hella self conscious, yet the most confident I've ever been. I am spiritual, divine, rational, magical, and kind. There are things that I believe in. I believe in me, and I believe in parts of humanity. I believe in science, and I believe in madness. I believe in magic, strong enough to burst through the darkest sadness. And that's it. Actually, now that I'm finished reading it, I kind of feel like it might not be finished. So we might be revisiting this in the future. Um, as of right now, Drunk History is kind of out for the time being, just because I don't have a ride to get booze, and I've got a lot going on. But I will be back, if not in the next week, sooner than 4 months from now. But I will be back regularly with updates because even though I finished school, this is all about the goal of getting out of my head and putting my thoughts and ideas out there and putting my poetry out there and sharing my art with the world and sharing my beauty with the world. So thank you for watching if you did, and you'll have a great day.